Welcome to English 9, Making Connections, Making Annotations, Quarter 2, Weeks 3 and 4. I'm Mr. Nelpon Sambalot and I am your subject teacher for this course. Look at the images. Correct. By this time, you can recall vividly the times that you made yourselves busy writing something on the notes or pieces of handouts that you had for you wanted to get perfect scores in the upcoming quizzes or exams. Also, you are being reminded of those times that you applied artistic skills as you write notes or you made yourselves aware of what's in the text that you read or in the lesson that you read wherein you made yourselves busy asking yourselves too many questions and writing them on the margins of the handouts so that you will get reminded of those or of the ideas that you wanted to elaborate. So why did I present these images to you? Because they have something to do with our lesson for today. We call it making annotations. So let's find out what is making annotations. Making annotations. The best way to remember and associate your experiences with those presented in any text is by annotating. So what is annotating? Annotating is to make marks on the text. It is not simply highlighting appealing words or sentences, though you will most likely end up highlighting the entire selection. It is a purposeful strategy to help you comprehend what you are reading on a deeper level than if you were to just read it straight through. It is an excellent way to deconstruct the text into meaningful pieces for better understanding. Its main goal is to make connection between what you already know about practically anything and the world around you. So making annotations is under making connections. So remember the last time we talked about the types of connections dealing with the text to self, text to text, and text to the world. Now, for you to better understand what you are reading, especially if it's a poem or a literary piece or a paragraph or an entire novel having many chapters, then it would be best if you will be practicing the use of annotations. For the more you will understand what you are reading, for you are highlighting words, sentences, phrases, or a paragraph, or maybe the entire text, for you to be reminded that you want to know more about this, or this is the idea that is being delivered in a certain sentence, or these are the words that you want to know, the meanings, or these are the important names of characters. So those are included under making annotations, okay? Again, annotating is to make marks on the text. It is not simply highlighting appealing word sentences, though you will most likely end up highlighting the entire section. It is a purposeful strategy to help you comprehend what you are reading on a deeper level, okay? So again, you call it annotating. There are four major benefits of annotating according to Acevedo 2017. The first benefit is it makes you more engaged in the material. So why engage in the material? Because you are really into the details that are presented in the material, wherein you are really processing the details in the material for you to better comprehend what is being presented in it. Next, it slows your reading that helps you to focus on details and have better retention and comprehension. The second benefit of annotating is, of course, you don't read the material in a fast manner or in an instant wherein it's the other way around because you are into the details, you are into the words, the ideas that are presented in it, and by doing so, the more the retention of the ideas presented or of the text, then of course, it paves way to understanding or comprehension of the material. The third benefit, it helps you process what you are reading. So the good thing of annotating, since you are highlighting or pointing out there the details or ideas that make you curious about, then the more you understand the text because you are processing every detail in the material. And the last benefit, it records textual evidence for later reference. You may even note your questions for further research. So what do we mean by it records textual evidence for later reference? as you read the material, then you have the justification to the ideas being presented by the author or by the writer, then you can highlight these ideas or you can write them on the margin. So that's the thing there you call textual evidence for later reference. So for example, you have there a story being read, then you highlight there all the names, you highlight there all the names, or you write there all the names of the characters on the margin, then later on it will be easy for you to recite or to enumerate who are the characters in the story. Then you may even note your questions for further research. Of course, the good thing about annotating is that whenever the ideas that are presented in the text are not complete and you feel that there's a need for you to read more about those ideas, then you can always write them on the margin, then do the further research after reading the text, okay? And going back to the text so that you will understand, you will make connection between what you have researched and what is being presented in the text. So those are the 4 benefits of annotating according to Azevedo 2017. Acevedo 2017 also added the following annotation strategies to be used. So he presented 11 annotation strategies. So let's have the first three. Number one, circle any unfamiliar words, then look them up and write down the definition. Two, use question marks to indicate areas of uncertainty. Three, use stars to indicate anything that seems important, such as themes, symbols, foreshadowing, etc. So we have here an example. We have here the last stanza of the poem, crossing the bar. So you have there the word born being encircled, so meaning to say, as you encircle that word, that is what unfamiliar to you, and you will be looking for the meaning of it in the dictionary. So again, circle any unfamiliar word, then look them up and write down the definition. Second, use question marks to indicate areas of uncertainty. You have there when I have crossed the bar. So look at the word cross. It's CROST. Then you have the question mark. Then you have there in the inside the open and close parentheses crossed. Okay, because you became confused, you became bewildered or uncertain regarding the word cross. So you write there, you use there a question mark indicating that you are uncertain with the word crossed. Okay? Then number three, use stars to indicate anything that seems important, such as themes, symbols, foreshadowing, etc. So you have there two stars above the words time and place. So time and place there are both what? Are both symbolism of something. So you have the which place, what time being referred to. So you use or draw stars on words that you think or you consider as any of the following, okay? Themes, symbols, foreshadowing, etc. Or if you believe that those words those words in the text are what are examples of any of the elements of a story, okay? So let's continue. Let us have Acevedo's strategies numbers 4, 5, and 6. Number 4, use exclamation points to indicate something dramatic or a key turning point. 5, circle or mark somehow character names anytime they are introduced for the first time. 6, keep a list somewhere, maybe on the inside cover, of all the characters and their traits. Add to this list as new characters are introduced or as you learn more about existing characters. So if you notice, numbers 4, 5, and 6 strategies are used whenever you are making annotation for a story. Okay? Although the first three strategies also can be used in story, I use them as we make annotation for a poem, so crossing the bar. So this time we have here a story, The Contents of the Dead Man's Pockets, okay, by Jack Finney. So again, use exclamation point. So we have the exclamation point. Again, when are you going to use it? To indicate something dramatic or a key turning point. So if you notice in the story that that portion is already the climax, then you can write there an exclamation point. So indicating that that is what? An intense portion of the story. Next, circle or mark somehow character names anytime they are introduced for the first time. So we have here an example. You have here the name what? Claire. So you have the Claire. Actually, it's not being encircled because making an annotation, it's up to you. It's up to you for as long as you can understand the notes you wrote on the text that you read. Okay, but of course. It would be good if you will be following the suggested strategies or suggested way of annotating so that even time come that someone will be reading your annotation for a certain text, then they can easily connect to you. But again, making annotation, it's always up to you. Anyway, you're the one who made that annotation for you to better understand the given text. So here, what is being done for number 5, instead of what? Instead of circling the name, you just have the writing the name, then you have the equal sign, then under it you have their wife. So meaning to say, Claire is the wife of the other character there. Okay. Number 6. Keep a list somewhere, maybe on the inside cover of all the characters and their traits. Add to this list as new characters are introduced or as you learn more about existing characters. So you can what? You can write their names of the characters and the traits, okay, so that you will no longer go back to the details in the text, but instead you just look at your annotation. So that's why you keep a list somewhere. So in the margin, maybe there's a certain page where you write all the names that appear in the story. Okay, then you add to this list as new characters are introduced as you learn more about existing characters. Okay, that's the meaning of number 6. Let's continue. Again, we're talking about the 11 strategies suggested by Azevedo on making annotations. So we are now on number 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Number 7, write your notes in the margins. That is the best method. On sticky notes, decent method, or in a separate notebook, least favorable method. Number 8, paraphrase or summarize each chapter after you finish reading it. You only need a few sentences to do this. Write them down at the beginning or end of the chapter. Number 9, write down any questions you have about the text. Either questions you are willing to wait to find out the answers as you read further, or questions you want to bring up to your teacher in class the next day. Number 10, use a color-coded system if the type of thing appeals to you. And 11, give each chapter a title. So after you finish reading each chapter, go back to its title page and give it a title. So let's have it one at a time. So we have here a think aloud with model annotations for a paragraph in the beginning of The Devil and Tom Walker. So what annotations you can notice? You have the what? You have their words being encircled, you have their words being underlined, then you have their stars on phrases, cheat each other, then many and fierce were the conflicts. Then you have their question, what is happening in America? Is religion still what's that? To the colonists, important to the colonists. Then why would a husband and wife like each other? Okay, love each other like that. Then what is the meaning of misery? The dictionary says strong and penny picking like that. This couple is so greedy that they don't love each other. So those are the annotations to that example. So let's have number 7. Write your notes in the margins. That is the best method. That's the typical thing that students are doing. And that's an example of it, the one that we have there. So accordingly, it's the best method because it is the widely practiced method. Okay. Then on sticky notes, it's a decent method, especially if you just borrowed the book from a friend or a classmate or from the city library, then you cannot write on it. So what's the decent method there on making annotation? If you have questions regarding portions of the story or of the text that you are reading, then you make use of sticky notes. Okay, so that's the decent method. Then the last one, writing it on a separate notebook. It's the least favorable method because you are losing the momentum. Okay, the momentum on reading the text. So that's why it's the least favorable method. But there are people who are really what, who are really into it, that they have a separate notebook for important notes. Then you just write there the title of the text, then you have there the important notes about the book. So if you don't like using sticky notes, you just borrow the book from the city library, then this one, the less favorable method, is applicable. Okay, number 8. Paraphrase or summarize each chapter after you finish reading it. You only need a few sentences to do this. Write them down at the beginning or end of the chapter. A good example of this is the poem Ode to the West Wind by Percy Bysshe Shelley, because wherein it has how many octave, or it has how many stanzas, a 14 line stanza, if I'm not mistaken. Then how many stanzas you do have in the poem. Now instead of just writing questions about each stanza, it would be best that you will summarize the poem by summarizing each stanza. Then the summarization of each stanza will be what, will be the summarization of yours for the entire poem. Okay, so you paraphrase or summarize each chapter if it's a novel, then if it's a poem, then by stanza. Okay, so you can do it that way, so that you know that stanza number one means like this. The chapter one points out this one. Okay, the number 9. Write down any questions you have about the text. So it's always good that whenever you don't understand a certain portion of the text that you are reading, then you write a question about it. It can be in the purpose of you are wanting to know what will be the answer for that question, or what are the answers to those questions that you wrote on the margins as you go on reading the text. Or it's also possible that you are writing question because you would like to clarify it to your teacher during the discussion. So those are the two purposes of writing questions whenever you are making annotation or annotating writing questions. Okay. Then the number 10, use a color-coded system if that type of thing appeals to you. So it's always up to you. If you do have there many colorful pens, so that it will be easy for you to understand. If you have their color green pen, then all words there that will be encircled with a color green are all names of characters. Okay. Then if you have their color pink there at the back of your mind, you use that pink color pen on encircling all the settings in the story. So it's up to you. Okay, so if you're kind of artistic, then it's okay, enjoy yourself doing annotations or making annotations. Okay, then the last one is give each chapter a title. So after you finish reading each chapter, go back to its title page and give it a title. So that's the last strategy suggested by Acevedo. Okay, so it's kind of the same with what I've told you on number 8, that you make a title, or you are summarizing the paragraph or the chapter by having there a subtitle for it. Okay, or a summarization in the form of a title. It's kind of the same whenever you write a science and health article, wherein you have the 11 paragraphs, or how many paragraphs? 11. Then you have their five subtitles. Okay, we're in these five subtitles. Even though you don't read the entire details in the paragraphs, 3 to 4 paragraphs each subtitle, you just read the subtitles. Then you can tell already what is the article all about. Okay, so that's a good thing about making annotations. Clear? Wherein you are dividing the ideas in the text that you are reading. Okay, give each chapter. This one, you already have chapters, so all you have to do is to understand each chapter and come up with a title. Okay, so typically whenever you are reading what a novel, it's like that. Okay, novels have chapters, so all you have to do is to understand what's in the chapter, then come up with a title for it. Although it has a title, but there you come up with a summarization of that chapter as based from your understanding. Okay, so let's continue. To make making annotations or annotating more engaging and interesting, you may also use illustrated annotations, which use images to represent concepts and elements. The creation of illustrations may help you synthesize information and at the same time may help increase creativity and engagement while reading. They make annotating text a more hands-on experience and learning a more meaningful and personal, according to GERT 2019. So look at that image there. It's an example of illustrated annotations, okay, wherein you have their images or drawings, illustration for ideas or words in the words coming from the text. Okay, so you call it illustrated annotations. For example, you have a tragic flow according to your understanding. The story has a tragic flow. Then you will be drawing there what an image of a man who looks what who's showing that tragic flow, okay? So, tragic ways. You have the tragic ways. Look at it, an image again. Of course, the image has something to do with your understanding, okay? So, look at the external conflict. External conflict, what's the illustration for it? It seems to be a fire. Okay. The internal conflict is kind of easy to understand. The illustrated annotation for it, you have a heart. So a love thing is the internal conflict. Then catharsis, you have there the feeling for the character. Then for supernatural element, you have there what? Casper, a ghost. So an example of a supernatural element is a ghost. Okay. So for students who are, artistic, are inclined in arts, then they will enjoy doing this illustrated annotations. But again, the good thing about illustrated annotation, it makes annotating text a more hands-on experience and learning a more meaningful and personal. And again, dealing with annotations or making annotations or annotating, you as the one who's making it is the one responsible of interpreting your annotations, okay? And that is for your own consumption. Okay, do not forget it. So again, it's your own annotation. That's the best way you understand a text. Then go do so for as long as you can understand or comprehend the text. Do not mind others on what they will think about your annotation for as long as you can decode your annotation. Okay, so do not forget it. So it's up to you. What are you going to draw for the words that you highlight? You highlight in the text, just like the example here, tragic flow. Then we cannot actually tell why is it like that. The same is true with the tragic ways and external conflict. So it's the one who made the annotation who can interpret or who can decode the illustrated images, okay, or annotations rather. So you do it that way. But of course, whenever you are being given a task to make an illustrated annotation for a certain text, then you deal with the realistic, with the feasible ones. What do I mean there? With annotations that are easy to understand. Remember that someone will be checking it. Okay, just like in the activity that I'll be giving later. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so we have here an example of how a student used simple symbols and or annotations to note significant elements from the poem Crossing the Bar by Alfred Lord Tennyson. So we already studied the poem Crossing the Bar. We already interpreted it. So look at how to annotate the poem Crossing the Bar. So you have their moaning being encircled, then three question marks, meaning to say what's the meaning of that word. Evening star, does this refer to the northern star? So what call, okay? So evening star. So you can use also star for evening star because that is what a symbolism. Then wave, the tide there, is it a wave? Okay, you highlight tide, then you write there, is it a wave? Is it synonymous to the word wave? Then here, turns again home. Does this only refer to the tide that turns again home, or it has a deeper meaning, another meaning? Okay, so that's how you do annotation. Then twilight and evening bell. So actually, twilight there should be highlighted also. Then evening bell. So specific time. Do they refer to a specific time, or do they have other meaning? Okay, the same is true with the word embark. So is the meaning of the word embark go or live? So you have the question mark again. When are we going to put question mark? Whenever we have uncertainty. Then born, okay, being encircled. Then plod, wave, tide. Does this refer to God? The pilot, the word pilot there. Then the spelling of the word cross. Okay, so there's uncertainty there dealing with the spelling. That's why do you have question mark then cross like that. Okay, so of course when I have crossed the bar, so of course past participle there. So which time, which place. Okay, so that's a good example of an annotation dealing with a poem. So it's kind of the same with what? With a story or other reading material. For as long as you are what? You are pointing out there the words that you would like to elaborate, or for you not to have difficulty making annotation, then follow the suggested strategies of Azevedo. Okay? So let's continue. Remember, the student used symbol which serve as his or her guide in understanding the text. Other annotations were also used to express ideas, ask questions, and clarify important points. So again, just like what I mentioned earlier, you're the one who's doing the annotation for the text that you're reading. You have the liberty to do whatever you want, to write whatever you want there, for as long as you can interpret, you can decode, you wrote there. Because again, at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to consume that annotated text. Okay? But again, if that annotation of a certain text is going to be read by somebody else, or someone will be reading it, see to it that the symbols you use there are the same with the generally accepted symbols. Okay, so that's the thing there that you need to put in mind when it comes to making annotations or annotating. Let us check if you really have learned something from our discussion on making annotations or annotating. So the learning activity number 4, I would like you to read the short story, The Gift of the Maggie by O. Henry. Then you draw an illustrated annotations to take note of important details and concepts taken from the text. So dealing with the complete instructions, I would like you to visit your Google Classroom and look for the Google Form link and read there the instruction on how are you going to deal with this activity. Okay, let's proceed. Thank you. May you have learned a lot today. Good day and God bless.